Welcome into the Miami Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. The Miami Heat have lost their first game in the NBA Finals, and it's their first game that they have lost in Game 1 of each series. They won Game 1 against the Bucks, against the Knicks, and the Celtics. They lose Game 1 here. Lot to unpack. Nuggets win 104-93. We'll go through some stats, and actually we have a major Tyler Herro injury update, so stay tuned for that. But obviously a tough loss to swallow here if you're the Heat. And I think the first thing we have to look out here is how bad the Heat shot in this game. They lose 104-93. Rebounding numbers pretty even. Assist numbers fairly even as well. But look at the shooting numbers. The Nuggets shoot 51% from the field. The Heat shoot 40%. That is just not going to work against a team like the Denver Nuggets, who are oh so talented. You look at the three-point numbers. Now, the Heat do have the edge in that department, 13 of 39, good for 33%, as the Nuggets shot 8 for 27, which is good for 29%. Michael Porter Jr. really struggled from three for Denver. KCP struggled, and so did Jamal Murray. But they were so efficient inside the arc where it really made the difference. And before we look at some individual stats, we continue to look at these macro stats here of the team stats. I think the Heat are going to regret losing this game just for the simple fact that you held the Nuggets to 104 points. They're a team that averaged about 115 to 120 points all postseason long and all regular season long. So you hold them to 104, you're expected to win that game. And I think that's the biggest bummer. You had disappointing games from Max Strus, Caleb Martin, and Jimmy Butler. But if you just hit a couple more threes, you would have been in this game. You lost by 11, and you shot very, very bad from the field. This reminded me of, I believe it was game 5 or 6 against Boston, where the Heat shot actually a good percentage from three, but shot so bad inside the arc, I believe it was game 6, to where it was just too much to overcome. We'll break down more stats individually. Caleb Martin, Jimmy Butler, Bam had a terrific game. But make sure you subscribe to the Heat Report. We picked up a bunch of new subscribers on our watch party for Game 1. We'll be live on Sunday for Game 2, so make sure you hit that sub button. Can we get to 1,200 subscribers on this video? It would be pretty dope if we could. And alongside watch parties throughout the NBA Finals, we'll also be here for the NBA Draft, which starts right after this series ends, and in free agency in the first week of July as well. Make sure you hit that sub button, please and thank you. Now let's get into some game stats. Jimmy Butler, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Very disappointing, and I think the number that really stands out to me the most is the 14 shot attempts. Jimmy, you're the best player on the team. I get Bam was having a good game. We'll show him in a second. But you're the leader. Lead us there. Take advantage of the situation. We're in the NBA Finals as an 8 seed. Jimmy, if you want to continue to build your legacy, be the Michael Jordan son, you have to put up big-time games in this series. And I was just disappointed by the effort from Jimmy. I'm not saying he didn't try. He was very effective on the defensive end, but he just wasn't the person that he needed him to be offensively. We needed him to be takeover Jimmy mode, Himmy mode, you might say, and he was not. He deferred to Bam, which was fair. Bam had a terrific game. 26 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists while shooting 13 to 25. As crazy as it sounds, but the Heat are going to have an offensive advantage with Bam Adebayo. If he can continue to play like this throughout the series, I think the Heat will have an actual good chance to win the series. I know the Nuggets still won by double digits and Bam had a big game like this, but Jokic is not the best defender. You can tire him out easily, and with Bam's athleticism and quickness, with pick and rolls, you get it to him in a rolling situation at the free throw line. He can stop and hit that little 15-footer. He could pump fake and get by Jokic, or just straight up use his athleticism and put it on his dome. I think Bam is going to be an important key for the rest of this series. I think he played well tonight. It's going to be a tall task, obviously, to defend Nikola Jokic. But if the Heat want to win this series, Bam's got to continue to be this man offensively. Gabe Vincent had another terrific game. Man, he's earned himself a lot of money. And it's a preview of our offseason coverage. Vincent's a free agent. I don't know if the Heat are going to be able to retain him because he's played so well in this postseason run. I expect the team to throw 15, 16 million at him this offseason, and I don't know if the Heat are going to be able to retain that or keep him in NBA free agency. But he was effective, hit 5 threes, 10 shots, 7 of 14 from the field, 19 points. Gabe is going to have to continue to be that third scorer for this Heat team. Caleb Martin really struggled. He really came down to earth, which is a big-time bummer. We know how good he's been throughout this playoff run. He's been averaging 14 points per game on that 3-year, $20 million contract, but an absolute steal. But he was abysmal tonight. Max Strus had a rough game. Rough was a nice way to put it. 0 points and 0 for 10 shooting, 0 for 9 from 3. My, oh my, I don't even know what to say about Max Strus. He's going to need to bounce back. Or maybe Eric Spoelstra changes the starting lineup once again. Like, obviously, we know Kevin Love has been pushed out of the rotation. Caleb Martin has been the main starter for the past 3 or 4 games. I don't think you can bench Strus. Maybe you can. A little hint, Tyler Herro could be coming back sooner rather than later. Maybe Herro steps into that starting lineup, but Strus was really, really bad tonight. The Heat are going to need him to get going. Him or Duncan Robinson are going to have to be an X factor in the series if the Heat want to win. One last player, and then we'll get to some Tyler Herro injury news like I've alluded to throughout this video. But Kyle Lowry actually played good. He was fantastic in Game 1 against Boston, and then he was, I would say, pretty bad Games 2 through 7. Lowry with another good for Game 1, 11 points, 3 threes, 4 for 8 from the field, 5 assists, 5 boards. He kind of led that late fourth quarter charge the Heat had that cut the lead from 16-17 to where they got it all the way down to 9. Never got lower than 9. But Lowry was pretty good today, and I keep on saying this, but it's true. The Nuggets are such a good team. Their Heat are going to need a lot of their role players to continue to step up and dominate in those areas when Jimmy and Bam are resting or just taking a breather on the court and not really trying to attack all the time on the offensive end. Lowry will need to be huge, and Duncan, Strus, Vincent, Martin, they've had such magical runs, and the reason why the Heat are the second 8th seed in NBA history to be in the NBA Finals because it's how good those guys have been. They're going to have to step their game up even more if the Heat want to bring home Larry O'Brien Trophy to the 305. I'll ask you this. Heat down 1-0. I'm actually not that worried. I think there's some good things the Heat can take away from this game. If they just hit their three-pointers for the most part, I think they have a good chance to steal Game 2 and go back to Miami 1-1. So type who you think is going to win this series. N for the Nuggets, H for the Heat. I'd understand either way, but I'm still rocking with my Heat. I said Heat in 7. I think that's still a real possibility. Moving on, and I think the biggest news of the day outside of the Heat losing is that Adrian Wojnarowski, St. Bonaventure alum, shout out the Bonnies, my alma mater, tweeted out today in the pregame coverage that Tyler Herro, who originally, after Game 7 against Boston, told Chris Haynes he was targeting a Game 3 return in Miami for these NBA Finals. If you don't remember, he did break his finger, and I'm just going to call it a broken hand, in Game 1 against Milwaukee that kicked off this playoff run for the Heat. He could be back on Sunday. Yeah, not Game 3 next Wednesday, Game 2 on Sunday. That would be massive. Herro averaged 20 points per game this season. He hasn't been the biggest playoff performer, but Herro's offensive punch and his spurt ability, I like to call it. I think he's a better version of what Jordan Poole is for the Warriors. Maybe that's a hot take, maybe it's not, but I would take Herro over Poole. Herro can provide that offensive punch outside of Bam and Jimmy. Martin's had a fantastic run. Strus has been good. Duncan's been good. And Highsmith has been solid as well, who played really good minutes today. But Herro is a more consistent version of that, where you can expect 16 to 20 points on a nightly basis. Maybe he slides right back into the starting lineup. I would actually prefer to see him come off the bench to start. Obviously, won Sixth Man of the Year last year. Maybe go back to that role for this series alone. But him being back would help everybody else get more looks offensively because Herro draws so much attention with how good of a shooter he is, shooting 38% from 3 this regular season, shooting about, I think, 43% from the field. He is a fantastic three-level scorer. Obviously, he has his struggles defensively, but it would be massive for the Heat to get Herro back on Sunday if that is the case, because the Heat definitely need his scoring. Now, that's going to do it for today's video. As always, make sure you subscribe. We will be live for Game 2 on Sunday night, 8 Eastern tip, probably 8:15 because ESPN and ABC likes to do that whack stuff. We'll be live here on our Heat Report and Chat Sports probably 20, 30 minutes prior to tip. So make sure you tune in for that. And like always, let's go Miami. Type those 305s in the comment section if you made it through the entire video so I know who are real ones and who's not. Peace out, guys. Heat, backs against the wall already, but that's no other way I'd want it. Let's go, Heat.